Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Migrate Oracle and MySQL database with zero downtime for real-time analytics with SingleStore and Arcion. My name is Zenny, and I will be your moderator today. So before we begin, just a few housekeeping items. Today's discussion is being recorded, and you are currently in a listen-only mode. You can submit questions throughout the session using the Q&A function in the lower right corner of your console. We will answer everyone's questions after the presentation during the live Q&A session. And after today's webinar, you will receive an email with the recording. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you our speakers today. First, please meet Manish Kumar, Senior Product Manager from SingleStore. We also have Raj, founder and CTO from Arcion Labs. Next, I will pass the stage to Manish to start the presentation.
Thanks for the introduction, Zenny. Hello, everyone. I'm Manish, and I'm a Senior Product Manager for SingleStoreDB, primarily focusing on the cloud managed service and the migration experience. The topic Raj and I are going to present today is about the integration of SingleStore with the Arcion product to provide a seamless data migration experience for the customers. We'll go over the overview of SingleStoreDB, why customers love it, and what are some of the challenges of migrating to SingleStoreDB. And Raj will go over how the new solution really makes it seamless for the customers to move to SingleStore, followed by a quick demo towards the end. Let's get started. Let's look at the changing database landscape over the last 20-25 years. The first era of databases, primarily consisting of Oracle, the MySQL of the world, were mostly relational in nature. They were purpose-built for transactional workloads. They added custom logic for sharding, for scaling read and write through replicas, which made it really complex to use these architecture for these modern database applications. That's when the second generation of databases kicked in. Databases like MongoDB, Cassandra were purpose-built for addressing the challenges of the first generation of databases around scale and concurrency. These databases compromised on the asset compliance, as well as the inability to support analytics on large data sets. Additionally, since these databases were a purpose-built for specific data types, it made really complex architectures for the customers to use many of these databases together. And that's what really led to the third generation of databases. These databases were built to address the challenges of modern database applications. They were SQL in nature. They supported real-time analytics. They supported presence in multiple clouds, which is the need of modern applications, as well as the ability to support both transactional and analytical workloads in one single database. Let's look further into what some of the challenges were of the first generation of databases. And the two that I wanted to focus today are Oracle and MySQL. Well, both of them were relational in nature. And over the years, they have added multiple data models to it. However, both of them have some common challenges which has caused problems to the customers. Both of them were not really meant for scalable architectures. They had challenges as customers' applications scaled, which really led to customers using multiple point solution to be able to patch up their applications. Both of them were not really suited for analytical workloads, especially on large data sets. They were transactional in natures and worked really well for quick lookups, but when it came to analytics, they were not really at par with what the application demanded. And this really made it hard to be used in multiple use cases. Additionally, with Oracle, you also had challenges of expensive licensing contracts and the inability to use it across multiple clouds, which made it really hard for customers to grow on top of Oracle. And that's where SingleStore comes really useful to be used for modern database applications. What exactly is SingleStore? So SingleStore is a distributed SQL database that powers data-intensive application. Well, what data-intensive application really means? It's primarily three things. It's high data ingestion, really low query response for even the complex queries that you have, and the ability to support high concurrency transaction on large data sets. What makes SingleStore really powerful is its patented universal storage technology, which ensures a row store for your OLTP workloads and a column store for your analytical workloads, and both of them optimized to give the best performance. To add to it, SingleStore also supports multiple data types, including key value pair, JSON, time series, which makes it really a good candidate to either replace or augment modern databases such as Redis, MySQL, Snowflake, and the likes of it. So why do customers choose SingleStore? As I pointed out, it's primarily three reasons for the modern real-time analytical application. It's the ultra-fast ingest with parallel reads and writes on the data, the sub-low second query response, which is really important to be able to claim a real-time application, and the high concurrency that SingleStore supports out of the box, which is really hard for any of the generation 1 database to catch up to. Well, this is what makes SingleStore a database of choice for your fast data analytic application. However, when you think about moving data to SingleStore, one of the key challenges is around migration. Typically, migration can be daunting to customers for many reasons. Firstly, it's the large downtime that database migration can have if not done correctly, which can take your mission critical application offline for the customers. Secondly, it's the cost and the complexity with database migration projects growing from 6 months to 12 months and developers spending a lot of time to do the schema mapping and procedure mapping, which makes it really hard to successfully achieve a completion for a data migration project. And finally, it's the combination of the cost and the complexity, which introduces a lot of risk to the customers as they think about doing a data migration project successfully. Well, with all these problems, we needed a solution. And here we have Raj, who will talk about the solution with Arcion Cloud that can help make this journey of data migration seamless for you. Over to you, Raj.
Thanks, Manish. That was a great talk on how SingleStore is loved by the customers and how this problem is surfacing up in terms of modernization. And so I've spent 20 years in the database industry, from seeing Gen 1, Gen 2, and Gen 3. And I'd like to tell the users, if you're we have created a product, we have created a company to help all DBAs, data engineers, anyone who's facing this challenge today to move to a truly modern new database like SingleStore, where you can get the best of both the worlds. And we personally have seen this problem play out many times in the last decade or so. And the primary reason why I started the company was to solve this problem at scale and help all of these users, migrate to modern platforms like SingleStore seamlessly, effectively, and in a cost-effective manner. Arcion has been around for a few years. We recently, closed, a round of funding. So, we look at us on our website. But my talk today will be focusing on all the technological parts of the product and how we integrate with SingleStore, and I will follow it up with some cool demo on our Arcion Cloud. So what is the product about? The product is about a data replication platform, which is powered by what we call as change data capture. CDC is a very popular and effective way to do data replication across databases. But what we have done at Arcion is to take this concept of CDC and just make the transactional connectivity across various databases not only easier, but also very scalable and highly available through a lot of features that I'm going to talk about. Manish introduced a set of specific challenges, right, with database migration, and I think it's pertinent to note that these days with people on their cell phones and in front of computers all day, there is no downtime that's possible today, right? If you look at Amazon, Walmart, retail, or even banking, right, there's no downtime. There's nothing like computers shutting or 9 to 5 thing. So businesses have a challenge today to think about how to reduce the downtime. So we thought of this problem, and it's the only way to go today is to go with a zero downtime migration strategy. And that is only possible today with something like stage data capture and making sure the source and the new target is up to sync, and you can cut over at an appropriate time. So no more downtime is our dream, right? So we'll talk about how to achieve some of that. Secondly, if you have tons of schemas, tons of tables, tons of indexes and whatnot to migrate, how do you do that effectively without getting a set of developers or DBAs to write it manually or do the manual conversion, right? It's very important to have automation around that kind of stuff. Not only that, when you move data from a type of database like Oracle to any modern platform like SingleStore, you've got to make sure that it's cost effective, it is incremental, and there is validation of the data that you have moved, right? So otherwise you would write scripts and whatnot, right? So we have to look at a solution that has reduced cost and complexity, and Arcion provides that value to all users. And the third point that Manish brought about was interesting, because you want to do migration, but you also want to have peace of mind so that you have the ability to have a migration fallback. What if certain tables on the newer platform has some issues and you want to just fix it and keep the the source on for a few months. So you need to have a clear path of doing migration fallback, and which is why bidirectional replication support out of the box is very important. So essentially what we have tried to solve at Arcion is to provide DBAs, data engineers, and anyone who is involved in this kind of migration journey a nice platform to move and migrate your legacy databases like Oracle, MySQL, and all of that to something like SingleStore. And obviously there's certain other aspects of the product that I'm going to talk about, which will be more more on the technology side. I'll quickly cover what we offer to our customers on the deployment side. So as you could figure out, this is an infrastructural product, so naturally just like SingleStore, we also offer a self-hosted version of our product as well as a cloud version. The self-hosted version of the product today can be run on any Linux box. If you are on any of your cloud systems, AWS, Azure, GCP, it is certified to run on any of these cloud vendors. It is very important for customers who have a lot of sensitive and confidential data, who are not willing to go to a vendor cloud yet. So this is an option that we provide to all those customers. But the fun part is we have a cloud version of the product today, which is a fully managed serverless service. I'm going to do a demo today on Arcion Cloud. Arcion Cloud actually has all the infrastructural and DevOps complexity hidden from the user. So it gives users just a simple service to run data pipelines. Today we have started with 3 sources on the cloud, and we have a 14-day free trial on cloud.arcion.io. We encourage all your users to start using Arcion Cloud to migrate data to SingleStore. We support SingleStore as a first-class target today in the cloud. So I'll talk briefly about all the support that we have built for SingleStore over the past few years. Arcion is a highly scalable and distributed replication platform, and it complements extremely well with a product like SingleStore, which is also inherently distributed and scalable, right? So you could use all of these databases. If you have any of these databases, you can migrate and replicate data in real time, high volume and high velocity data sets to SingleStore. If you use the cloud product, as I mentioned, there are 3 databases that we support today. And we are adding more to the Arcion Cloud product. But name any database, then it's a very good chance that you could use Arcion as a product to migrate and replicate data to SingleStore, right? What is the product about? What differentiates us with the rest of the market, right? If you look at the data integration market, the data replication market, ETL market, there's a lot of vendors talking about replication. A lot of vendors are talking about CDC, but how do we differentiate ourselves, with some of this, right? And I would argue that, Arcion or not, you would want to think about these three fundamental pillars for any commercial CDC platform that you would want to use to migrate high volume and high velocity transactions single store, right? So I'll introduce the three concepts and then we'll talk about them in a bit more detail, right? So look at transactional integrity, right? Data integrity is extremely important. We're talking about data in Oracle and SAP and SQL Server, MySQL, right? So it is extremely important that the data has to flow with retaining the transactional integrity. Scalability is of utmost importance. You're moving data to a distributed, extremely scalable product like single store. So the middleware tool has to be scalably, so has to be highly scalable. And Manish has rightfully, talked about the fact that real-time applications today are a necessity. But if the data doesn't move from source to in platform like single store in real time with minimal latency, then the whole dream is unfulfilled. So we've thought about this problem as as a database practitioner. I felt we really need to tackle all of this in one single platform to give that good platform to the users to achieve the dream of finally being able to modernize to platforms like single store. A bit of detail on some of this. What do we mean by transactional integrity, right? With transactional integrity, we offer a zero data loss architecture. We have a lot of IP that we have created over a period of time, kind of a modern concept in data replication, which allows us to have auto restart if there is a failure anywhere in the pipeline. Without zero data loss architecture, you never miss a transaction. And for any transaction, you have exactly once delivery. So there is no concept of data loss or duplicate data when you use Arcion. We also have inbuilt algorithms that guarantee that the order of operations in the target system like single store is guaranteed to match the order of operations in a complex source like Oracle or MySQL or SQL Server. Another important problem that traditionally the data replication vendors have not solved, which is how to handle schema changes. This is handled out of the box in Arcion. So if you have tables getting created, tables getting dropped, columns getting created, columns getting dropped, all of those schema changes or DDLs are handled out of the box with Arcion. Additionally, we also ship data validation tools. So if you move data from Oracle to single store, you don't have to write scripts today to validate the data. Arcion ships a validation tool to handle all of this. I spoke about scalability. It's very important because if you're looking to do data sets which are terabytes and petabytes to a distributed platform like single store, you got to have scalability, and you got to have a lot of scalability features. So we offer scale up in terms of intratuple parallelism, and all of this works out of the box. The users don't have to do anything. And we also have scale out capabilities, which means you can run a cluster of nodes of Arcion. And then we offer for our self-hosted version of our product, we have a cluster management framework that manages the orchestration, availability, and all of that. For the cloud product, naturally it's a serverless service, so all of this is handled internally by the Arcion Cloud product. But the product today is extremely scalable, and that caters to high volume and high velocity. Data delivery in real time is extremely important. What is the point of getting to know a change which loses its value over time, right? So the idea is for any modern platform to get the data from source to the target in absolute real time. And Arcion has built a lot of features to help customers and users with that, right? So the core part of this for us is our change data capture based replication, which means the moment the change or the transaction shows up in the source database redo logs, we have the ability to pick up that change instantly. And we do that without having any access to the database itself. We just read the logs and we figure out the transactions. Once we get that, we have in-memory format conversions to do all of the formatting. As you can imagine, going data from one type of database to other requires format conversions and all of them. We do all of that in memory at very high throughput. And we use state-of-the-art data formats today, like Parquet and others, for faster ingestion, and which allows us to move data almost instantaneously, to a high-performing target like SingleStore here. We also do other cool stuff, which is not only we do change data capture, but we do change data capture in parallel. We have the capability to do redo log streams or redo log files in parallel, and we have native loading into the target. So overall, you get a platform that has been built for scale, that has been built for reliability, and that has been built to guarantee that the data travels from this one sort target to the one type of source to one type of target in an extremely fast way. So with this, I will quickly want to jump to the fun part of this webinar, which is a live demo on Arcion Cloud. So here we go. We are on the Arcion Cloud page where we're going to start both the demos. We'll start with the MySQL one first, and then go to the Oracle one. If you have signed in for Arcion Cloud and you've completed the registration, this is the first page that you're going to get, right? Which is a set of applications that we have already run in the past. In this case, I've run a few of them today and yesterday, so it shows up here. And all of this is categorized based on the type of the application, right? And you can do some actions here, right? Kill it and resume it and all of that. This is like the main replication dashboard at the global level. You have to, and then what we're going to do today is start a few pipelines. So we go and click this new thing, and then we get started the first one. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is a MySQL data set to SingleStore, and we're going to do a full mode replication here. So we have these 3 modes that we have to set. Snapshot is one time thing, real time is the CDC only, and the thing that we're interested here is the full thing, which is do historical data load, and then the CDC, all of them in the same flow, right? There are 3 write modes for us. Like append is something that you write incrementally to the target platform. Today we want to also demonstrate additional capabilities of Arcion, where you can create tables automatically on the target system, and especially for SingleStore, we have the ability for the user to select whether they want a row store table, target, column store table, and they want to set sort keys, shard keys, and all of the table specific parameters. So all of that is possible, which is why we will pick this replace mode for the demo, right? So I picked up all of this, selected the name, we'll hit next, right? The next obvious step is to pick up the source here. In this case, I've already pre-populated a source, but it's very easy to create a new source. So if you go to this, you can select, the database type, and you can see the form. It's pretty simple. Username, password, URL, SSL certificates, pretty much basic stuff to connect, right? So I'm going to go with MySQL here. So we have an additional thing for any source, which is called the extractor, which is a set of, config parameters that, are kind of advanced things to pull data out of the databases, right? So number of threads, rows, and all of that advanced stuff. So the PPCH data set here is very small, so we'll go with the default parameters. So I'll not, explicitly create a new extractor for this. But for the Oracle data set, which is kind of a little bit of a bigger scale, we will definitely create an extract, show you that, how to set the extractor value. So we'll go to now, select the target here. We pre-populated a target SingleStore West. We're going to use it, but again, the way to select a new SingleStore target is pretty simple, username, password, SSL certificates, and all of that, very simple stuff. And we also have docs actually for all of the sources and targets, which will help you, to configure the sources and targets for the CDC. So we're going to use the SingleStore thing. And similarly to the source, we had another concept called the applier, which is like a, advanced parameters to do, faster apply to the target system. In this case, since the data set is small, again, we're not going to tinker around with this, but for the next one, I'm going to pick an applier. So we selected the source, we selected the target, we give a name. Let's go to the next step, which is filter. Filter is the step where users tell the product, what schemas are interesting, right? And then what tables are interesting. In this case, I have all these tables in the PPCH schema. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not interested in, let's say, parts of, right, one of the tables, right? I'm interested in the other tables. And then let's say for supplier, for example, right, I'm not interested in, let's say, the comment field, right? So it's a way to filter out tables, columns, and all of that. So we'll hit save here, and then we go to the next step, which is to map, right? So the mapping part is, where you can actually define new names for your schema, tables, and all of that. So in this case, let's say instead of TPCH1M, I'm going to call it TPCH MySQL on the SingleStore side. So just create a different name for the schema, and you can pick up like a table where we can say, hey, part can be part new, right, instead of part. So just a new name that you could give for any table or any schema here. Just the flexibility is there for the user. And then, as I mentioned, you could actually select storage types and keys for tables on the SingleStore side. For example, by default, we create row store tables for all input tables, but let's say, hey, this particular table nation, I am interested in a column store table for this, right? And I'm going to say, hey, nation key should be my sort key, and maybe region key should be my partition key, right? I just took up like some random keys here, but we'll show that we are able to explicitly define those keys, right? So what I did here is, by default we have row store tables, but if a particular table nation, we have defined a different property, which is to create a column store table, right? So with this, I hit replication here, and this will start the whole process behind the scenes. So what it is doing now is to get some services up and running, and it's going to spin up some resources on the back end so I'm going to go to the MySQL side, so the SingleStore side, and show you so we have an existing thing. We're going to replace it. So this is the main dashboard of our the replication. So what we're seeing here is a thing that has already been started, and tables have been moved, and it looks like we've made 1 million rows pretty fast. This main page would give like a summary of what has happened and what is happening. So right now the application is running, but you can trigger certain actions, which is you can stop and you can terminate and all of that stuff. This is the progress of how many insertions, updates, and deletes have happened. And we have a counter part here where is the total number of tables, insertions, updates, and all of that, right? So remember, like we were doing a full mode replication here. So when we go to this phase, which is change data capture, this means that the product is ready to accept changes on the MySQL side to be able to pick up and move it to the target system. We also have another interesting feature in the product, which is the live stream of the trace log, and this helps advanced users to actually see what's happening in the system, right? Remember, like this is a Arcion Cloud is a serverless service, right? So users don't get SSH access to the VMs and stuff, right? So this is a good way to see what's happening to your system and all of that. We had talked about the fact that we will take one table which and put it as a column store, right? So we're going to see the table definitions here real quick. So customer table, by default we have created a row store table, not a surprise. However, there was one table which we had picked up for the I think it was the nation table that we had picked up for the column store, right? So as you can see here, we were able to pick up the mappings that the user defined, and this table has actually become the column store table. So we're good on the mapping side. Then as we are ready for the change data capture, let's do a small transaction on the MySQL side and see if it is reflected on the so I'll pick up the orders table here, which is the biggest table in this data set. We'll put a new name here, which is Arcion SingleStore, and we'll just fire the command here. So we have 255 rows up, changed for this transaction. I'll hit commit. So what's happening on the MySQL side is it's flushing all of this to the log, and then at some point in time, the Arcion reader is going to pick up the 255 rows and apply it on the SingleStore side. So as you can see here, that was pretty much instantaneous here. We picked up all the 255 changes, and we applied it on the target side, right? So this is also going to show up on the per table summary thing, which you can go back and forth between the two pages. So this view details thing is to get details per table, right? So there's a lot of meaningful information here, which is this is like a live counter thing, right? How many insertions, deletes, updates, and all of that. And there's the lag per table also. And so I'm going to go to the MySQL side. We'll do just one more change, and I'll demonstrate that this is a repeatable thing, right? It's just not so we did one more change, similar change, and we'll hit commit here, and as you can see, picked up instantaneously, right, by the system. This is like, it's almost like we were able to move the changes within a second, right? So overall, to summarize what we have done from a small data set from MySQL, we're able to create the tables on the SingleStore side. We're able to say, hey, for one table, we are able to create a column store table, and the others were row store tables. So we can do that mapping. We're able to do the initial load, and then we did a transaction on the MySQL side, and we were able to reflect that on SingleStore. So with this, the MySQL part of the demo is over. So I'll quickly stop this application, and we'll move on to the next one, which is a bigger data set on the Oracle thing, right? So I'm just going to go to, as you can see here, I stopped that application, and it will be in a stop state very soon. So I'm going to go to another screen here on my page, so that I can quickly start an Oracle thing here, right? So we'll go to the same screen as before, and then this is going to be Oracle SingleStore and full mode. I've already explained all of this to you before, so it's going to be a full mode and replace, except now we're going to go to Oracle, right, as a source. Now this one is a bigger data set, so I would want to use an extractor here. So I've filled up an extractor here with some values here, which is number of threads, fetch size, and all of that. Bigger data sets would require you to read our documentation and kind of define extractors. So I'm going to use an extractor in this case. Select the target again, the same SingleStore thing, and in this case I want to use an applier, which I've already created. So in this case I have this S2 app1, which I've created earlier, so I'm going to use that and go to the filter step here. So this is a slightly bigger data set. We're going to use the 10 million data set here. Again, same thing, we want to chop one table out of the whole thing, and in this case I've already demonstrated to you the ability to map and the table and define sort key, shard key, and all of that per table configuration stuff. So I'm not going to repeat it for Oracle now. So I'm going to just select the schema and the tables, and we'll start the application, right? So remember, this is the 10 million rows data set. So let's see what we have on the SingleStore side, right? So we do not have the schema created yet. So the service has just started, as you can see here, starting from scratch. We do not have the schema, so we are kind of create the schemas now on the Oracle side, on the SingleStore side. Let's go and see what has happened here. Awesome. So we've got the schema created here. That's 10, and then cool. So we've already created all the tables here on this side. As I mentioned to you, by default, this is going to be a row store table on the SingleStore side, and so okay, cool. So we have created 7 tables. Remember, this is a 10 million data set. We just barely started a minute back. Looks like things are proceeding pretty fast. And the insert rate is very good. We are doing close to 100,000 operations per second here. It's fabulous speed. Let's go to the view details page to see details per table. So, the rate is significant. Within a minute, we have been able to move 5 million rows. So, probably within a couple of minutes we'll be done with 10 million. So that was, and the other thing I didn't show in the last, demo was that, you have peak rate, average rate and all of that, right? As you can see, the average rate is pretty good. Like we're still doing like 80,000 operations per second, significantly, fast. And, 6 million rows have already moved. So we'll go back to the summary till the snapshot is complete. We'll just show you that, so the 7 tables created, number of insertions, 0 update because I have not done any CDC, close to, 75,000 operations per second. Buffered operations count is something we do a lot of in-memory processing. So this is the stuff that we keep in the buffer when, and then we, do the update, right? Since this is a bigger data set, we are still loading the snapshot data. Will be done very soon. And then, once the snapshot data is over, this phase is going to change to, that's it, with the change data capture. So let's go back to the stain. So we're pretty much very close to done. As 1.5 minutes, we have done 9 million rows. We'll be done very soon with the, with all of it. And let's go and see on the SingleStore side. I wanted to show you that, we can run some complex queries now on SingleStore. And and get results very quickly. So as you can see here, I've done a join here between the line item table and the orders table, and with an exists clause. Very complicated, analytical query, and SingleStore just came back, in less than a second on this data set, right? So as you stream data, you can, run the queries in alongside, right? So that's the benefit of, a product like SingleStore, where, you can get, transactions and analytics in the same platform. So back to the summary here, just waiting for the last set of operations to be done. We're maintaining the rate here close to 70,000 operations per second, and whoa, okay, so we're done. So 10 million operations in close to like 2.5 minutes, as fast as you can get, and we are ready for changes on Oracle, right? This is the part where, change data capture mode means you're ready to accept changes on Oracle side, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to actually go to Oracle and, make some changes, right? So I'm on the Oracle side here. I'm going to update, some queries. I probably, do some large updates here. Let's pick up like this thing, and, so this is like a fairly large update on this table. This is a reasonably big transaction on Oracle side. I have changed more than 2,000 rows. It's actually 2,500 rows on just with a single transaction on Oracle. And remember, this table is actually pretty big, right? So if I show you the count for this table is pretty big, right? So it is, close to 2 million rows. So fairly large transaction, 2,000 rows. Let's see how soon can we pick up, right? So we're waiting, to pick up the changes on the SingleStore side. So we'll see. Looks like within a few seconds we have picked up 2,000 operations already. So you can't get faster than this for a CDC pipeline, right? Like almost instantaneous, right? So we just did the change on Oracle, and we've already SingleStore side here. So I'll do one large update as well, so that we're not talking about just one thing fast, right? So I'm going to do a bigger thing here now. So we'll actually change the string so that we're doing it, so it's a demo for and then we're going to pick up a bigger one here, right? So let's say we do like 20,000, right? So this is a 5,000 row update now, bigger, double the size of the update. And it's going to take a few seconds now to go to the transaction log on the Oracle site, but let's see how soon can we pick it up on the Oracle site. So we're just waiting to pick up the changes. I mean, it's a fairly large batch again, 5,000 rows updates. So, we're going to wait for a few seconds to show this. Okay, so looks like we have started picking it up already within a few seconds. So, what I'm demonstrating to you is that the replication from Oracle to SingleStore, in this case, even for a 10 million row data set, is as instantaneous as you want, right? So as you can see here, we have been able to pick up the changes, absolutely like, fast, and it's happening on the, again, as I told you, SingleStore, is capable of running analytical queries absolutely perfectly. So you can actually, I'm going to run this query on SingleStore side. Sorry, I was on the Oracle prompt here. So as you can run here, so the same query, keeps running. So you can do transactions, you can do analytics, on the same platform, SingleStore. So that gives you that added benefit as the data gets streamed in here. These queries will still keep running. That's the beauty of a modern platform like SingleStore, right? Where you can keep ingesting the data from Oracle, and you can still, keep running those queries, without any impact on performance and all of it, right? So to summarize what we have done for Oracle to SingleStore, we actually moved close to 10 million rows, and we created the tables. We did the snapshot, and then we did 2 very large updates on the orders table. And we've seen that both the updates, which were 2,500 rows and 5,000 rows, got reflected in SingleStore, within, the first one got reflected within a few seconds, and the second one was obviously a large batch, so it took, close to 20 to 30 seconds. So that's all from my side on the CDC side. The other cool stuff that, we have in the product today is the ability to stop and resume pipelines. So with this, let's say you want to stop a pipeline, right? For some reason, to do maintenance or whatever, right? So in this case, I have stopped this pipeline, and I will wait for all the replication metadata and all of that. There's fair bit of work that we do on the back end to kind of maintain the checkpoint and all of that. So in this case, I've stopped the pipeline, and you can go to the main page here on the dashboard, and we'll also see that, this pipeline is in a stop state, right? So we go, but at any point in time, you can actually go and look at the details, what has happened in this pipeline, how many insert. Just because you have stopped the pipeline doesn't stop you from looking at the details, right? So right now, pipeline is in a stop state. Good, but at some point you may want to come back and say, hey, I have further activity to do on Oracle, so I want to resume this pipeline, right? So what we'll do here is to resume this thing from where we left off. So we're going to wait for the thing to resume now. So we're starting to resume the pipeline again. In the pipeline resumption, also we need to pull in resources from the EC to get the containers up and running. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. So, but you can go back to the summary here, and you can see that we have started to do the thing. So it says running, and the phase is change data capture. So which means even after the resume of the pipeline, let's try one more thing, which is one more change on the Oracle side and see what happens, right? So I'm going to do one more update now after resuming the pipeline, and I'm going to put, let's say Arcion demo S2, right? And again, we're going to do a 500 rows update. We'll do a commit, and what should happen now is even after resuming the pipeline, we should be able to pick up the additional, updates, right? So briefly wait for it. And as you can see here, we have already picked up the changes because I can see the changes being buffered, and, practically even after resuming, as you can see here, I picked up the changes, right? So this is a fully resumable pipeline. As you can see, no manual intervention needed. I demonstrated to you that we could stop the replication, restart it, and still we were able to, get the changes, right? So with that, I will conclude the demo today. Just to summarize, we did a small data set from MySQL to SingleStore. We provided mappings for the tables. Then we moved on to a 10x bigger data source on Oracle at 10 million rows. And then we also demonstrated that the product scales, right? When you move from 1 million to 10 million, not only we're able to do the initial data load in 3 minutes, we were able to do instantaneous CDC We stop the pipeline, resume the pipeline, performance doesn't change, we're still able to capture the changes instantaneously. So that concludes the demo from my side. Thank you.
Thanks, Raj, for the demo and the wonderful presentation. So I think I just want to cover one part, which is how do we get started? And both SingleStore and Arcion provides free trial for their services. With SingleStore, you get $500 free credit that you can use to spin up clusters in the cloud in any regions and in any cloud, AWS, GCP, and Azure. With Arcion, you get 14 days free trial to use the Arcion Cloud solution, as well as a 30-day free trial for the self-managed Arcion product. With that, I want to transition to the Q&A. Zenny? Zenny, you are on mute.
And you're muted.
We can't hear
Hello,
you.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, my apologies. Okay, I said we have quite a few questions come in. So the first one came from Sai, and he said, hello, do the replication tool available for self-managed environments?
Yeah.
Raj, would you like?
It is available. We actually have a self-hosted version of the product, and we have a 30-day trial, and certainly this is available. So please contact us, or we'll reach out to you. If you have a use case there.
And Raj, just to clarify, is this tool also supported for the self-managed SingleStore deployment with Arcion Cloud?
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right, so the next question is coming from Gunnar, and Gunnar said, are there any replication requirements for the source tables, for example, unique keys, etc.?
Great question, Gunnar. So we do not have any limitations. The Arcion CDC product doesn't have any limitations on what sources are, what tables. Certainly, if a table has a primary key and unique key, we would like to take an advantage of it to do some parallelism and stuff, but you do not have to necessarily have a unique or primary key. So, as you have seen from the demo, I had a table called line item in both the schemas, which actually, if you look at TPCH schema, line item doesn't have a primary or unique key, but we are still able to do the replication, right? So we have no limitations like that in our product.
All right, so the next question is coming from Steven. Steven said, can you support a data architecture such as linked list across multi-data sources of different formats and destinations real time, using a single target device with sophisticated security platform? What do you think the latency factor could be?
So latency, when you talk about multiple data sources and all of that, is very dependent on three things, right? One, the hardware on which Arcion runs, the power of the source database, the throughput that we get on the target database. It's very hard to answer this question because it's a factor of many things. But what we have demonstrated today with our partner set SingleStore is that if you have a use case where you are moving data from a high-speed source database like Oracle to a modern high-speed database like SingleStore, we have not seen yet any latency issues. I showed a transaction which was 5,000 row update, which traveled to SingleStore within 10 seconds. So as you can see, if you have enough hardware, if you are able to write to the target system, in the target system is set up properly, which would be true for something like SingleStore. I do not anticipate there's going to be a lot of latency. We can sustain high throughputs. Typically, we have seen throughputs in the target system at the order of at least for SingleStore, we have seen that we could easily do 10,000 to 20,000 operations per second on a single table, which is set up properly. So if you have more requirements than that, certainly happy to our team will get in touch with you, Stephen.
All right, so the next question is coming from Paul. Paul asks, can we make 2 or more replications in parallel at the same time? If we can, what is the max numbers of replications at the same time? Thank you.
So Paul, there is no limit on how many replications you can create at the same time with the product today, because each replication is a logical unit of work that is independent in itself. The trial on Arcion Cloud, though, has a few limitations on how many replications you can get for the trial, but for the base product, which is the self-hosted version or the cloud version, there is no limit on how many replications you can get at the same time. So.
All right, next question is coming from Franco. Franco said, I have a couple of one-time migrations to make. Would I be able to use your trial for that? Would I then need to pay only for the used AWS resources?
So great question, Franco. So if we have a 14-day trial on our Arcion Cloud, and that has a few limits. Remember, this is a fully managed service, so you're not going to see any AWS resources till you finish the trial. So the trial is on totally on Arcion. If your data set matches the limits of our trial, then I'm sure you could do a few migrations in 14 days. We'll be happy to help you succeed in that.
And then Franco also have a comment. He say, Arcion looks amazing. Congrats for such a great product. I'm seriously impressed. Thank you, Franco. And moving on to the next question, Gunnar. Gunnar asks, does CDC run on the database layer, or it considers the application rules / logics as well when it provides changes?
So right now, for the sources that we support, that CDC runs on the database layer. If you look at our sources, Oracle, SQL Server, MySQL, all of the ones that we support in with SingleStore as a target and others, we do run the CDC on the database layer. Sometime this year, we're going to ship a few more sources where we're going to tap into CDC from a set of well-known applications in the business domain. But for now, the CDC runs totally on the database layer.
All right, and then the next question is coming from AR, and AR asks, how different Arcion is from Oracle Golden Gate?
This is a great question. It's hard to, I'll try to answer it in a short way. So think of Arcion as a modern, distributed, easy to use Golden Gate, because Golden Gate is a great product, but we have seen that, when there is a lot of data volume, when it comes to scalability for, modern databases like SingleStore as a target, there are some gaps in scalability and ease of use. So we've tried to solve those problems, and most importantly, we have a serverless fully managed cloud service which differentiates us from Golden Gate today, an easy to use cloud service. So happy to do a deep dive call later. We have a few more things, some IP that we have created that's very different than how Golden Gate works. So I'm happy to schedule a follow-up call with you, AR. But great question.
I think, Roger, you also forget to mention that Golden Gate is required by Oracle. So with that sense, Oracle doesn't have the incentive to build tools to move data out of Oracle.
Yeah, we leave it on our intelligent Oracle users who've been paying exorbitant fees to Larry's company to figure that out, right? So of course we are better, and I would say cost effective too. Yeah.
All right, next question is from Krishna. Krishna asks, what's the backend for SingleStore transactional and analytical engine?
Sure, let me take that, Zari. So so typically databases are either row store or column store based on the transactional or the analytical workload that they have to support. SingleStore has this patented universal store technology, which supports a row store in memory and a column store in the blob, and that's what really powers the transactional as well as analytical workload on the same engine. That's the beauty of what SingleStore provides to the customers. So it's one single store that can be used both for your OLTP type workloads as well as a highly complex analytical workload, which which Raj demoed as a part of the migration from Oracle and MySQL. I mean, there are a series of blogs and articles that we have that describes the universal storage technology. We'll probably be sharing that as a part of the follow-up of this webinar.
Thank you, Manish. Okay, we have the last question from Nabil. Nabil asks, explain the concept of the extractor that was used for the Oracle replication demo. Are there situations where an extractor is not required?
Most of the small data sets would qualify for a no extractor and no applier situation here. But if you have a data set which is probably hundreds of, like, if it's more than like 100 gigs or like 25 30 tables of that kind of like little bit of the higher volume, it might make sense to do an extractor and applier, and we have extensive documentation which you can read. And but for most of the, if you have like a POC kind of environment with like remove like 50 60 gigs 20 tables, you'll be fine by not having an extractor and applier. So the default values would work fine on the cloud product.
All right, I think that's, actually Krishna had another question come in. So Krishna asked, thanks, curious to learn more about it. Appreciate the blog posts. All right, I don't think that's a question. Any other questions from our audience today? I think we have 1 minute left. All right, if we don't, I think that concludes our webinar today. Again, today's session is fully recorded and we will send you a copy later this week. So please stay tuned to keep an eye out for your inbox. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to SingleStore and Arcion. Our contact information are on the screen. And it was very nice to hosting you today. And I hope everyone have a great rest of the week. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.